please be gentle with yourself because change is constant. Whatever's happening right now is not going to be this way forever.
Exploring the human journey.
My name is Serenity Risvik. I'm an energy and sound therapist. My journey is continuously connecting with people to find that balance in between mind, body, and soul health on this life journey. Everything is energy. Our body, everything seems solid. Everything that exists in this world around you is not completely solid. So when you zoom in on that, we're just a bunch of little vibrating frequencies. Sound moves through that. Wind, vibration, literally moves through us to clear and move our energy field. So I work really closely with sound and vibration on a therapeutic level to help move blocked energy in the body for mind, body, soul health. I travel the world putting on sound ceremonies to bring community together. I like to say to have a experience together but individual, because every single person is on their own journey, and I strive to create space and a safe environment for each person to have their own journey, but know that we're all in it together at the same time. I work so closely with herbal medicine and plants and all the elements of the world to not only find my balance, but to inspire and help others find their balance. That is a really big part of who I am and what I share with the community in the world, as well as always having my eyes and ears open to what else is going on, what is everybody else experiencing, and how can we come together and utilize everything as one.
It's been so good getting to meet you, learning about you. How did you get into the space in which you were like, I'm going to do sound healing for people and I'm going to create events? How did that occur in your life? What got you to that point?
It's very interesting because I feel I'm a part of it, but something grabbed me and just yanked me into it.
Ooh, tell me more.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and I hadn't experienced really anything like it before, but I basically was really into the herbal medicine world, studying herbalisms with a lot of apprenticeship all around. So I was introduced to so many different modalities and so many different cultures. And then sound got brought up in passing, and it was like a magnet. I feel like at full speed I flew towards it, and I was so interested in it. And then I said, my eyes, my ears, my heart are open. That's kind of how I live my journey. And wouldn't you know, not even 2 weeks after that, more people that had to do with the sound therapy world came into my existence and were saying, do this. Would you like to do that? And so I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And it just came to me because I allowed it to come to me. Once I was able to connect with community and see how this was affecting them, I was so deeply in needing to educate myself further and find out what is this frequency and energy that's moving throughout the body, so much so that it's affecting these groups of people that I'm bringing together. Because I talk to everybody after, and everyone has their own experience. And I just had to and continue to have to learn more about it. It's remarkable. I call it magic.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a resonance, and you can feel, and then you can hear it, and then you can close your eyes, and sometimes you see colorations. You just see just things, and then things come up. Some people will cry. Some people will try to stifle giggles because there's this joy welling up. Tell me about the experience that people have when they come into a workshop.
Absolutely. So many different experiences, and a lot of them root from blocked trauma in the body. So blocked energy. So we need to have this constant energy flow in the body. You may be familiar with chakras, the energy fields or the meridian lines in Chinese medicine. It's all based upon energy flow in the body. So we get blocked energy in the body, and that creates pain, disease, discomfort, so many things. And one of the major reasons is a trauma that blocks that energy. And the word trauma, we think huge. It doesn't have to be huge. It can be something that we didn't even realize impacted us that much. And it can be physical, emotional, spiritual. Trauma is not just one thing.
Yeah.
So we get this blocked energy. And when we do sound therapy and we move the frequency of the body and move that blocked energy, typically that was connected to an emotion. It can be from 2 days ago, 2 years ago, 20 years ago. So why I tell people doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So if you have an emotion come up, which is so common during sound ceremonies, and like you said, it can be tears, it can be anger, it can be anxiety in the chest, smiles, laughter, whatever it is, doesn't matter. I say don't question it. It was connected to blocked energy that was stuck with you for so long, and it's now moving and it's just releasing. And energy typically moves for about 3, give or take, minutes. So I just say honor it and then let it go, and so it is.
Yeah.
Why does it matter? Don't question it. Just let it happen. It's for a reason. Our emotions are there to teach us something.
Yeah. I love that because souls come and incarnate in this physical form, and emotions are our primary thing that we're here to experience. Part of my journey is coming away from a narrative that said you can't trust your emotions. In fact, that's how the devil tricks you. And so I was never taught to connect with intuition or emotions. I was like, oh, so I had to do what somebody else told me I was supposed to do. And so part of my healing journey has been sound, it's been breath work, it's been plant medicine, it's been learning new modalities and learning to connect to that emotions and realizing, oh, that's my inner guidance system. Why am I angry? What is that? Oh, what am I afraid of? Oh, there's something I'm afraid of, and now I'm angry about, or what is that emotion? A funny anecdote, my son Alexander, he sent me a picture. It was on our family group chat, and he said, hey, I was at work today, I was eating spaghetti, and I got a stain on my shirt. He says, and you know why? He says, it's because of you, Mom. He says, when I was 5, you said, if you wear white, you'll get a stain on it. And so here's something a mother tries to tell a child, who's a sloppy 5-year-old eater, hey, you better not wear white, you'll get a stain on it. So now it's lived with him. He's 25 years old. And so when you say trauma can be anything, I said, do you have childhood trauma about this? And we joked, and it was a lighthearted thing. But he goes, literally, I believed my whole life, if I wear white, I'm going to get a stain. And sure enough, I did. And I go, oh, so you created that reality. And so that's a funny example of trauma. Obviously, we are all aware of horrific traumas that can occur to us as human beings, but that's something that you just never know. And so give a perspective on the healing of trauma that you have worked with, that has come up in workshops that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that story because it has that, that fun joy to it, but it really does show what we have in our mind is what we create. So that is like a beautiful, fun example of what you keep up here, no matter how big, how small, how much attention you want to pay to, even if it's way back there. If it's back there, you're bringing it right up here. Right up here. So when you enter any space of mine, I create a really safe environment because everyone is on their own individual journey and everyone's there to respect that. I utilize a lot of different healing modalities, even though sound is my main focus. But we do a lot of breath work. Breath work is so powerful to move things through the body and oxygenate the body. A lot of humming and different sound things that have to do with frequencies and vibrations that your own voice puts into your body. So I utilize a lot of that, a lot of the tapping on meridian lines, all types of things before we lay the body down to have the sound ceremony. So depending on each group, we do different modalities like that. So everyone comes in with their own story. And it's so interesting because at the end, everyone has almost an experience like they were in a completely different room. They have nothing to do with each other. And that's really powerful because that shows you that we're such individuals, but the frequency, the one frequency that's going on that we're all listening to the same thing is creating different things in each person. So I say we're not one size fits all, not even close. So someone comes in with childhood trauma and they are on this journey to find their inner child and hug them and love them and just look, heal that part of them. And then someone else right next to them has come in because they just haven't been able to sleep for 20 years and they don't know why. So they're trying everything and anything. And both of them, after interviewing them when leaving, had such a huge benefit. Something came up, whether it was a vision or, a past loved one that came and like spoke to them. All of these things happen during sound ceremonies. And like you said, the colors, a lot of people they feel the energy and the frequency in their body of places that they know they're trying to heal. Like they feel like the pain, and then it goes away the second that the frequency goes away. So it's very interesting.
I had an ayahuasca ceremony where a practitioner used the gong. And the first thing he did is he took the mallet, spun it in his hand, and then started taking the bottom of the stick, and it was the sound. It was like, it was wood on metal. And this vision I had was this white light splitting the darkness, and out of it was colors and colors and colors. And you're on plant medicine, and you're experiencing this, but wow. And then he flipped it over, and then he would swell it. And I was like, wow, the gong. And I could see the energy coming off of it in this space that I was in the ceremony. And so I had such an appreciation for that. And so now when I hear that, you don't necessarily have to be on some ayahuasca type of experience, but that gong is so full of the richness of vibration, and it so changes the mood. I have friends that are practitioners in sound that they'll tell me, my loved one's in a bad mood, and so I go, come here, let me do some gong on you. Have you had an experience with people, like your loved ones are like, come here, let me gong you?
Absolutely, a lot. So, and you don't always have to tell them why or what or the science. You're just sit down for a minute, take a second to yourself, and then you purposefully play the gong or certain frequencies. And at least 3 minutes is how long I have them sit and just breathe. And it can change someone's mood like that. I mean, mine too. I'm a part of that sometimes. When you're getting ready for a huge ceremony to facilitate, and I really care about everyone that comes around and with me, but you need to get rid of any stress, leave everything at the door. And a way for me to do that before everyone arrives is do exactly what you said, but do it for myself, to sit down, to play the music. You don't have to always have your intention. If you don't know what it is yet, just start listening, and then it comes to you once you start listening.
You said breath work. Now, breath work, oh man, that is so important to me. So a few months ago, I had an experience where I was in a ceremony, a breathwork ceremony. It was with Aaron Gannon, and we started doing the breath work, the breathing in, the breathing out, breathing in. I'm flooding my body with life force energy, and man, am I starting to swirl around. And this song came on, and he picked it out. I later asked him, "Did you pick that?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I intentionally pick all the tracks." And the song was "Remembering the Love of the Mother." And oh my goodness, this experience that I was in with the sounds and all of the breath work that I was doing, I realized my heart isn't able to receive the love of my mother right now because she doesn't accept the opening of spirituality. She's still holding fast to a different viewpoint. And she's, you get one life and then there's a judgment, and you got to be careful because the devil could trick you. And I'm like, I think I'm going to let that paradigm go. I don't think that's what's serving me any longer. And so maybe I don't have that ability to feel this closeness that I would like. And so as this song came on, I heard this internal voice. I felt like it was God in female form, the goddess. And I felt like it said, you're going to receive love now that you haven't been able to have the way you wanted it. I'm going to give it to you in a different way, in a divine, feminine, loving way. Wow. So I started ugly crying.
It's the best
and so
one.
And I'm breathing, and then pretty soon I'm like, I just started to spin. I start weeping.
Yeah.
And Aaron, at the end of the ceremony, he says, all right, everybody, we're going to have a time to share. And I'm still, and I'm like, what is happening? So I I try to get up and roll my mat up, and I can't walk. And he goes, Dave, why don't you go sit over on the side? So I sit on the side, and then uh, everybody shares, and we're done. And I'm still having this emotion. And so I come over there. He comes over to me, and he says, how's it going? I'm like, I really got touched in this service. I felt the love of the divine today. Thank you for facilitating. He says, well, we need to go. This is a workshop, and there's another group coming in after us. I go, okay. And so I go, well, who's coming in after us? He says, oh, let me ask the facilitator. So this lady comes over. She said, it's a group of Native American women channeling the divine feminine. And I'm like, can I stay for that? And they're like, yeah, it's an open workshop. Of course you can. And as I'm welling up with tears, I'm like, I think this was healing for me. And so they come in, and the very first song, there's 4 beautiful Native American sisters. And they said, this first sister feels like she's led to sing a song. And so instead of singing their traditional, she starts singing, and it was the same mode. And again, I just closed my eyes, and I felt God say, this is for you, be loved. That was so valuable. I give you that anecdote to say this has been a healing modality just recently that I've received. And then they went into their Native American and the hi-ya, hi-ya, and the rhythmic, and it was beautiful. But that first piece was a gift from the goddess to me. So when people are like, what's breath work? I wonder what that is. Oh, it probably doesn't mean anything. Oh my goodness, if you just open yourself up to it, it can be tremendous and powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. What a beautiful story. Oh
Right.
my gosh, I had goosebumps almost the whole time.
Oh my goodness.
It's stories like that yes, that was meant for you. That happened for you. No matter what your beliefs may be in this world, I think the universe guides people, things, music, everything to where it needs to be when it needs to be. Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I was almost there with you for a second. I was like in there. I was in there. And you know what? I couldn't agree more. There is so much energy behind breath work, literally, and energy. But breath work itself, if anyone has never tried it, I encourage them to. Like, push yourself beyond your comfort zone, show up and do the work. So that is my input anytime I'm facilitating breath work or I'm just, recommending someone go. Because you can show up and you can do the breath work, but really lightly and not really push yourself and do the work. And it's okay. But if you will let the facilitator guide you and you put in that work and you move that oxygen through the body. I have never had a breath work session that I joined that wasn't a really big deal. It's always emotional. It's always, my body's moving, which is like releasing trauma. Breath work is really, really powerful for me. That is the big hitter for when I know I need to move some stuff, and a lot of stuff. It's breath work.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of trauma right now in the world, and we see the division. We see people lining up on 2 sides of an issue: religion, politics, wars. There is so much collective trauma right now. Part of the ascension process of figuring out we're spiritual beings having a human experience is the healing of trauma. It's so important. So when you have a ceremony, I'd like to say it's an ascension portal, because people can go in there and they can have an opportunity to heal trauma. What do you see, and as you travel, as you connect with different people in different groups, what is the collective consciousness? What's it doing? Where's it going right now from your perspective?
Really powerful right now, David, is what I'm seeing for the last many, many months is voice. The voice is showing up a lot. The throat chakra is showing up a lot. As I speak to every group, hundreds upon hundreds of people, no matter what they say, it can all be put back into speaking your truth and allowing yourself to be yourself and getting rid of fear, right? So fear comes in there with the voice a lot. And I feel like it's clearing. As much as there are awful, horrible things going on, like you were mentioning, there is a shift happening as well. And people are working with themselves and bettering themselves. And I always say, if you don't know where to start, but you know you are not feeling well and you know you are not happy, start taking care of yourself, self-care. That's a beautiful start, because once you start that, it is a snowball like no other. And it's beautiful. You learn more about yourself. You start to heal. A lot of people show up and they're like, I don't really have any block trauma. I feel pretty good,
Sure.
and yeah, and it's like, I've been there,
Yeah.
you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I just came because my sister brought me. I'm like, awesome. You're supposed to be here.
Love
You're
it.
exactly where you're supposed to be. Lay down with an open mind
Yeah.
and try to let go of your ego and welcome.
Now, fast forward 30 minutes.
Yeah. And they always they open their eyes and they look at me and they're like, well, what was that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was block trauma. And it's beautiful
good.
because I feel like I'm here to inspire. So many other people inspire me, and I don't ever want to stop being inspired by people, and I don't ever want to stop inspiring. So moments like that, they now take the next step in their journey and maybe listen to a bunch of podcasts or read books and keep showing up to different facilitators. And so I was a piece in their book. And that is what I continue to want to do for everyone.
Well, I love that you're here. You're sharing the light. You're sharing the opportunity for people to have healing in their life. For those that don't know your story, give some presence to your journey, your health, your healing, how you have created this movement forward in your own personal life through health and healing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love learning so much. I never want to stop. So I'll start with saying that. But my journey goes back to, I kind of just lived a normal life, had a really eye-opening health scare, which shifted my mind nutritionally. And so I started studying a lot about that. And then I got into the world of mental health. And I have a lot of family members that, after I started learning about neurological things in the brain and how stuff works, it's like, oh, so and so has this problem. Like, you don't know until you kind of learn. And the reason that's important to me is because communication with strangers and with people I love and with everyone ever is in my heart. It's my heart and soul. So I continued to learn mind, body, soul communication so I could hug my community with pure love because I somewhat understand what's happening with them, if that makes sense.
Well, what was your narrative coming into this? Were you given a viewpoint of the world? Was it all love and light? Did you have obstacles that you were given that you had to go through?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was not always on this journey that I'm on now. It was not always love and light. I would consider myself that I've always been a really good person. When I was a lot younger, I just didn't have a care in the world. You do whatever you want. This is fun. That's fun. Eat whatever you want. Stay up. And I kind of just lived my life that way. You think nothing's ever going to happen to you. You think you're untouchable.
Yeah.
Right. I wasn't a book reader. I wasn't.
The immortality of youth.
Yes. Yes. I was a pretty basic, insecure young woman just living my life. And then when I had the health scare, it really shook me. And so I said, okay, I'm not invincible. What am I? And it made me start thinking of like, why am I here? What am I? What's going on? And I never thought those things before. And then the world and universe give you opportunities if you take them, right? So on that journey, I went through a lot of loss. I went through a lot of pain and discomfort. And when you want to grow, all those things are part of it. That's a part of the puzzle piece. So you have to put yourself out there. You have to feel it to heal it, right?
Yeah, you have to have that pressure pushing on that resistance for things to move in a different direction.
Yeah.
When you say lost, did like family members die? What happened?
Yeah, I've had a few family members die. My grandmother that I was very close to, we lived with her growing up. She passed away, and she's actually was the first person that I was really close to. I'm very blessed and haven't had a lot of people leave this universe, and so that happened. That shook the heck out of me because that was a new thing for me, and I'm like, well, what's that? Like, where'd she go? Like, what happened? And so that was a huge, okay. And like you say, back to the spiritual world and the energy and, just believing that everything is in motion.
So you had to find some resources. What did you use to figure out, well, how does this whole thing work? Who am I? How'd you get to the awareness of being a spiritual being, having this human experience?
I started asking questions. So asking questions, I believe, is so powerful to anyone that gets put in front of you. Why did you come across this person? So you might as well talk to them. So I started reading books. I started watching podcasts all about like near-death experiences.
Yes,
And,
that's my fave.
because then
Yeah.
I just like to pull from all these nuggets. I call them nuggets, right? And you take what resonates with you and what you feel can fit into your puzzle and what you can believe or believe it might be type thing. So I read a lot of books on near-death experience, which I wasn't familiar with at that time. And what's interesting is, near-death experiences, if you're familiar, so many stories from different parts of the world that are like the same.
It's all the same. That's what saved my soul, was studying what happens after we die, near-death
Same.
experience. And they're all going and having an experience with this God energy consciousness, and this is no punishment. I was like, oh, so it allowed me to have the ability to go, oh, maybe there's other things out there.
It's incredible. And so, a really interesting story. Before I started studying the near death experience stuff, before that kind of came to me, but I was asking questions and was very curious. And, you can get into depressions and sadness when you're like, well, why am I even here? This experience happened to me. Nothing like this has ever happened to me before. And this is amazing. I was visiting my brother in New Jersey, and I got up in the morning. I was very lightheaded. And for me, I don't like anyone to worry about me. I take care of everyone, which is a thing in itself you have to work on. But I don't want anybody to worry about me. I was lightheaded. I didn't feel that well. I was like, oh. So I go into the bathroom by myself, seclude myself, shut the door so nobody knows I don't feel well. Well, I passed out.
Oh, wow.
I smashed my head, and this whole side of my body was a huge bruise. So I somehow hit my head and then smashed my whole arm on he has a wood cabinet. But the point of the story is this. When I was, for lack of better words, passed out, it was just, everything was white. I was in this white room. There were 2 chairs, and I could only see the feet of people, 2 white chairs with 4 posts each. One was mine, and I was there talking to a man, and I could see his feet. I don't know who this man was. Nothing like this has ever happened to me before. This was not my life. This was not stuff I believed in, and he was speaking to me. I can't remember what he was saying.
It's always
in this moment. Yeah, my mind is open if it ever wants to
Yeah.
come back to me. But I remember the feeling in my chest, and it was pure bliss, pure, no judgment, complete love. I've never felt it before, and I've never felt it after. But I started coming back to, and just waking up in the room, blinking my eyes, and I'm started breathing, and I had that feeling with me still for a good 30 to 40 seconds, and it was just oh, if love was, and bliss, and no judgment, and just pure, we're all one, was if those words I could just give someone, that's the feeling. And so it eventually wore off, but I laid there for a minute, and I was like, what was that? And I feel like that happened to me, obviously on purpose, because I believe everything happens for a reason. But that moment, other people have shared almost that same story in these books.
Yeah. Wow. So you had your own little mini NDE almost.
It was very interesting.
What do you think? Because I have my own ideas.
Oh, I'd love to hear your ideas.
Well, I think you're talking with your spirit guide, and you're like, hey, here's how things are going. He's like, no, not yet. You got other things to do. And you're like, well, I'm kind of having some tough times. They're like, nope, you got to go back. Okay, give me some inspiration. Here's some inspiration. I'm going to remember this. No, you're not going to remember it. Because I hear this account often.
Yeah.
My son, Tyler, in 2017, I did chest compressions. I got him to come back, and he said, Dad, he was a heroin addict, and he had an overdose. He said, Dad, I was walking on this seashore with this lady, and she told me many things. And I said, wow, I need to remember this. And she says, you won't remember it. But there is one thing I do want you to remember. And I had hypnotherapy experience where I saw myself as a Native American, and I was so angry, and I had killed some people, and in my experience. And then later I was like, oh, and I learned how to change that energy, and I went back with a bouquet of roses to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me for whatever that energy was. Tyler said, Dad, do you remember that story you told me about this hypnotherapy experience you had? Yeah. He said, that was a past life, and the lady told me in that lifetime I was your child, and you were not able to save me. So in this lifetime, when you did CPR on me, you were able to save me. So that completes that you lost me, but now you're here. So I was like, wow. So he and I lived with that as our experience for the next many years. He did pass away, and his contract must be complete because in 2021 he did overdose, and we've shared that, and that's part of his journey. But I do believe, going back to your story, you had an experience where you and your soul guide were sitting there and you're probably trying to figure out what's going on. I bet you got some information that said, you're going to be going this way. You're going to be contributing to this ascension, this awakening. How does that resonate with you?
It resonates greatly because I feel like I'm being guided, so much so, especially since that moment. And I'm listening so hard always. I'm like, which way do you want me to go? Left, right? Want me to open that door, close that door? And it got so much stronger after that. And I just believe, I mean, so what you said totally hits, but it can be kind of scary, right? These things are scary. Sometimes we talk about them like, oh, this is great and beautiful and spiritual, but there's a lot of fear in there and question, right? We always want to question like, I don't know, should I just forget about that? Like, no, just honor every single thing that happens in your life, whether it's going to bring you sadness, anger, happiness. Try to take a moment and honor it.
You're in touch with your intuition. Your social media stuff is great. You're encouraging. That's how I first became aware of you, seeing you on social media. How do people find you on Instagram?
Yes, on Instagram you can find me at Life with Serenity.
Life with Serenity.
Yep.
Okay, so you give these words of wisdom. What are these intuitive things that you're feeling? You're growing more and more in your intuition. What modalities have you used that have informed this? Have you done things to increase that awareness for your intuition?
Yes, and it sounds so simple, and I think it's one of the hardest things in the world, and it's staying quiet with yourself. Being quiet with myself and sitting in silence continues to help my intuition grow because it gives me time to listen to it and get to know myself. Being in a quiet space with myself, for me, is difficult. So I'm sure others may find it difficult as well. I'm a doer. I like to do things. I want to know what's next. How much can I get done in one day? I have all these hands. So when you sit quietly, the mind's like, oh, you got to do this. Oh, okay, do this. Oh, you've already been sitting here probably 10 minutes. It's time to go do that. So I love it because I use it as that opportunity to take control, right? To just be the leader in my own story instead of letting that noise win and getting up and saying, I sat quiet enough. To push yourself beyond your comfort zone. And I think that's when your intuition has the opportunity to say, here I am, right? Yeah. Whether it's that feeling in your stomach, oh, I got this gut feeling, or I feel it in my chest. However you feel things, listen to it. If it doesn't feel right or it does feel right, I say become your own best friend. You mentioned it earlier, how you can start talking to yourself and saying, why do I feel this way? Okay, I'm feeling really insecure right now. Why? Is that a trigger? Or why am I feeling A, B, C, and D? So talking to yourself and questioning things is like such a beautiful step into becoming your best self. Instead of just acting on how you feel, you question and you speak. Yeah. And you're just your own best friend up there.
Well, that's part of the journey of being the observer. So I have learned to witness this experience that I'm having. Right, when you're in it, somebody cuts you off in traffic and I'm going to give you the finger and I'm so angry. And then I go, oh, well, look at David. He's angry. Wonder why he's mad. Is it because he's afraid he's not going to get somewhere in time? And what if he's late? Oh, is he a bad boy? Oh, David's got to be the good boy. And then I start to giggle because I'm like, isn't he funny? And then I'm thinking, what about the guy that cut me off? Maybe he's late for work. Maybe he's so frustrated. Maybe he's a dick. I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of people are, and sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm a dick. We can all do those things, But I think when you can observe, David's tired, he's cranky, he's super happy. Well, look at him, how happy he is today. Boy, he's in a good mood. When you can be the observer, it takes you out of the, I've got to do this, and then you can as you were saying, you can focus on being the human being instead of the human doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. I see what underlying programming is occurring that makes
Mm-hmm.
me angry or frustrated or sad or whatever. You have to deal with that. Tell me how you work through those.
Absolutely. Really similarly. So I talk to myself. I talk to myself so much all day long. So I'm constantly asking why I feel away, how I'm feeling. Is it mine? So that's a big thing with
Oh,
me
great.
because of my energy work. So other people's energies can get stuck on us, right? You don't
Yeah.
need to be dealing with John Smith's anger that was next to you in the grocery line. And you bring it home and you're like, oh, and you're feeling. So I take a moment and I say, is this mine? Like, is this my anxiousness that I have or anger? Sometimes it is. And great, honor it. Hold it as long as you need to work through it. But if you cannot trace it back and you're like, this isn't mine, then what I do, I have a few different things I do. Bringing the water element in is really nice. So if it's available, water, trying to, just like release it and say, not me, not mine. That's my
Mm,
thing. If I'm
great.
not available to water, and I love to get my feet on the ground, the earth,
Mm,
and I bounce, I shake because the shaking moves the energy. And I release what's not mine, give it back to Mother Earth. Earth has a frequency, so do we, and it can pull from us. And not me, not mine is what I personally say because it works for me. I'm like, not me, not mine. And
so good.
I'll do it for a little bit until I feel like it's gone. And then I always bring joy. So I
Mm,
smile. Even if it's forced, your best Hollywood smile, laugh doesn't matter because your mind will follow it. And
yep.
so I just give myself a little smile. I'm like, okay. And we move on
Yeah.
because you don't need to hold everybody else's weight on your shoulders. And we don't pay attention all day long. It's just next thing, next thing. And then you think you're just having a bad day, but really, you're really mad because somebody's really dark energy stuck to you.
Hmm. I remember being a kid and we would do fake laughs until we would just roll laughing. And it was
Mhm.
the most ridiculous thing. But I remember, hey, we would just like this game we would play and that whole making yourself smile.
Mhm.
I literally, there's been times where I'm going into some sort of a business meeting, maybe I have to do a video shoot that I'm just like not into for various reasons. And I literally I have to try to smile and put myself into that because I do want to be of service and somebody needs something to help them in their business. Sure, I can help them. And so I have to change that mindset. And that smile really makes a difference.
Yeah. I use that a lot in my sound therapy ceremonies. I'll use like laughter meditation is what I call it. But I say, you start laughing, give me your best Hollywood laugh. Even if you feel like you're the saddest person on earth, just pretend you're in a movie. Go, ha, 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 ha. I don't care what it sounds like. Make it sound angry. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But 60-ish seconds in, people are red in the face laughing hysterically because your mind, body, and soul, they all follow each other. So you push that laugh out for long enough, and then you're going to start feeling it in your stomach. Then you're going to actually just start laughing because you're bringing joy to your entire energetic being. And it's just so
Yeah.
powerful.
I took a landmark class and we had to write down our painful trauma, our story,
Mm.
and we wrote it down. They said, okay, now read it to someone else. And so I read this horrible, painful story and they go, okay, do it again. Okay, well, okay, read it again. And it was like, they do it again. We did it like 6 or 7 times till the point it was like, this is the dumbest story. My trauma is so dumb. And then I was able to recontextualize it to realize, oh, I'm hanging on to my trauma because I love my trauma. And it was just an exercise to do that. And they did also encourage us to continue that with smiling. Tell your trauma, but smile about it. It doesn't mean what happened didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying the energy of it to hold you hostage is what you can release. We acknowledge it happened. Yes, traumas happen. Yes, egregious acts happen to people. We're not saying that doesn't happen,
Mm-hmm.
but the energy of being victimized by it, you can let that go.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so healing for me, is to not be a victim. Victim
Mm.
mentality is really strong. I think we souls come here, and part of the juiciness is like, ooh, I'm a victim. Oh, somebody did something against me. I didn't choose to be here. My parents simply had sex and I showed up.
Mhm.
I'm a victim. Or in religion, ooh, you're not worthy to be with God. Ooh, you're a victim. That is such a pervasive mindset. What do you do with victim mentality? How do you get through that?
Yeah, that's tough because it comes from different areas for everybody. Like you said, sometimes we're raised that way, and you really have to at some point I like to say, you have to take your life back and there's no excuses. You have to stop finding excuses for, well, I have this anger issue because my father A, B, C, and D. Or I have this, like, okay, but like you said, how long do you live in that and hold it with that type of energy? And what I find is a lot of people, it's very hard to let go of something traumatic, holding it in like a victim place or just really painful, because they feel like once they do, then they're not honoring that that happened to them or happened to other people. And like that's, like you mentioned, that's not what it is. It's just shifting the energy and not letting it control you anymore, because you don't deserve to hold the pain from it. It doesn't take away the tragedy of anything. It still was an experience. But what slot do you want to keep it in your life? Do you want to keep it in a slot that's going to eventually show up in physical form and give you a disease? Because on an energetic level or energetic being and mental, it's going to eventually show up in physical form.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to give you some type of ailment. It's going to make you physically sick.
Mm.
So for me, I go there. I try to explain to them how that's connected, because sometimes when the mind shifts and understands a little bit more of how it works on a physical level, that opens their door in their head enough to start listening about, okay, well, how can I not let this trauma control me? Because I don't want to have stomach issues anymore. Almost 100% of people have stomach issues. It's hard to digest things in life. They're having the energy of digesting, whether it's past traumas or relationships with family members or coworkers. They don't speak their truth, and so like they're not digesting anything energetically, and then they're like, "Oh, my stomach hurts. I'm gonna go to the doctor." And it's like, oh.
Well, which comes back full circle. So you were on a pathway. We had a wonderful diversion into different areas, but you had this mini NDE. And so now you're in this space where something needs to change for you. And so you're back to, well, how do I physically find attunement? Keep going on that pathway. What is your journey through that food and nutrition and physicality?
I always say I'm continuously learning, and we wake up on a cellular level different every single morning. So that's important for me to know, because what was good for me 6 months ago may be shifting, and you just need to continue to learn. So you have to keep changing nutritionally, emotionally, physically, all the things that you do to continue to be your best self. So for me, I'm always looking for the next best version of myself, mind, body, and soul. And not that I'm so happy with every past version of myself. I love her. I tell her all the time, like, you're the best, you're amazing. But we're on this journey, so why not continue to learn and continue to inspire? And for me, after that experience, it's like I told you, I started reading the near-death experience books, and I'm like, whoa, this is so funky. Like, this is so interesting, because I actually had no education on near-death experiences before that. It never came into my realm. It just hadn't come into my realm yet, because it wasn't time. It wasn't time yet. And so it did. And so I just was researching that, and it gave me a lot of peace with death, which I did not have. And I still struggle with every now and then, but it helped me at least educate myself enough to know, like, I don't know everything. And, you know, don't act like A, B, C, and D's was going to happen because that's what you learned when you grew up. You know, like, that's not even fair to you. Solid statements of things, for me, I just feel are closed-minded, and it's not fair to you. And so anytime I see myself thinking I know something exactly, I'm like, pull back.
I think that's one of those things. We develop narratives in our youth, and we think we figured it out. And then as you continue to grow and get older, you're like, oh, I don't know anything.
It's so interesting. You know what I find really interesting is that when I was young, teenager, and all the things I hated on, I hate that, that's stupid, are literally who I have become.
Oh, wow.
So do you find that happen to you at all? Like, there were things, right? I had a friend that made green smoothies and was healthy, and I was like, you are so stupid. That's so gross. You're a loser.
Vanilla milkshakes are way better.
And now I'm like, I won't start my day with that one. And that's one example. I could give you 10 plus
Yeah.
because I found it interesting. Everything I hated on is who I'm becoming.
Yeah. Well, I just think that's a natural maturation process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you think one thing and then you're like start to go, oh, maybe there is wisdom in that. I mean, there's an old saying that you get smarter and smarter in your kids' eyes as they get older. They're like, oh, now I see why I had a bedtime. Now I'm in my 20s and I'm tired all the time. And I can't wait to go home and go to bed. You know?
Yeah.
So I think those are things that are valid.
Yeah. I had chatted with someone that was like, well, maybe it was you were being like tested to see if you could make it through all that hate and like make it to the other side of like the love of it all. It's just quite interesting to chat about. It's
I love that
and
idea.
so it's broad awareness. If I find myself not liking something, right away I'm like, okay, is there a good reason? Because sometimes there's good reasons to not like things. You have boundaries, you have things, but if there's no reason, I'm drawn to it. Because I've noticed in the past, if I automatically hated it, it became who I was. So now when I feel any type of hate, I'm like, okay, why is that there? Am I going to love this pretty soon?
Well, that's scary in my life. So I hate country music.
Okay.
And I went out to a country music bar with a friend of mine and was tapping my foot. And my friend, she said, do you want to go square dance or whatever, country dance? I was like, yeah, I do. And I ended up having a really good time. So I was very upset about that because I had so much fun at a country music place.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I think that's a part of natural growing.
Mm-hmm.
So in this universe that you're learning and you're growing and you're having fun in, it's very important to enjoy the ride, enjoy the things that we're doing in life. What are the things that you use for play, for entertainment, for things that nourish your soul? What do you do? Because your work in the world is very serious and it's very important. How do you then go, this is something for me?
Absolutely. First, I always tell myself and other people, be gentle with yourself.
So good.
I'm like, please, please, please. We're so hard on ourselves. We're hard on ourselves than we are on each other. So be gentle with yourself is what I constantly remind myself too. Because in the world of everything that I do energetically, and I feel like I'm a pillar in my family and I kind of hold everybody up too, you can be so darn hard on yourself. So one thing is I tell myself, Serenity, please be gentle with yourself because change is constant. Whatever's happening right now is not going to be this way forever. So I'm just remember change is constant and then everything happens for a reason is something I kind of do mentally. But physically, I laugh all the time. Just spurts of laughter. Like anytime I feel my low energy, I use laughter meditation. I dance around a lot. I try to find that inner child of mine. She loves to play. She loves to like be silly and just she's really likable. She's amazing. So I play with her a lot, you know. When I'm in the house and I'm always moving my body in some way that I'm kind of like being silly. And I think that in itself helps like me keep that like gentle energy flow. And it's a really good balance between when I sit quietly and then when I'm like, I use my voice a lot too. So I'll just like make noises and be silly and things that you see kids do, you know?
Well, to your point of using your voice, while you were sitting here and I was setting up equipment, you're singing, you've got a melody in your head. And, you know, there's an old scriptural text that says making a melody a joyful noise, you know, and keeping joy. Even that tonality is so important for joy.
It's so important for joy and it's free. Right? So when people are like, I don't have time, I don't have this. I'm like, when you're driving, hum and sing to yourself and listen to your voice, feel it in your throat. Like that's you, that's your energy and connect with yourself. That right there is a beautiful self-care act in itself. And you don't need extra time because you can do it in the shower. You can do it while you're driving. You can do it when you're cooking. You don't even have to take 3 minutes aside if you're one of the people that feel I have no extra time. So just connecting with yourself, making noise. I never used to be that way. I was really quiet. I didn't want to take up any space. I was so shy. I ate my lunches in the bathroom. in middle school because I was so uncomfortable being around groups of people. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want anybody to ask me questions. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin.
What was that narrative, do you think?
I was just so shy, and I don't feel like I found my own voice in groups of people I didn't know really well. So I wasn't like that around my family, but you put me in this school, like I was so scared of being embarrassed, right? So I was really scared of being embarrassed. We grew up without a lot of money, so I got like hand-me-down clothes even from like brothers and stuff. So I was just like, don't look at me, like don't talk to me. I don't want to be embarrassed. That was my mindset for a really long time. And my reason for saying that is because it doesn't matter who you are right now matters because you're beautiful. But that doesn't mean that's who you have to be. If there's something you want to change, work on it. And for me, I'm so different than I was then. So that little girl is so proud of me.
You have these stages, or we all have these stages we go through in life. And I like to say, you know, the David, 10 Davids ago would have done that. Me today, you know, now do you want to fight somebody over country music? David, a couple Davids ago would have. Now I'm just like, if you enjoy it, do it.
Yeah.
Even if it's not my favorite thing, doesn't mean you can't enjoy it.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
So I do think that we do have that wonderful opportunity to learn and to grow and to experience and to explore. As we're wrapping it up, there are things that you're doing in the world to move consciousness forward. I like to say these ascension portals, that you host events, you do things. Share with people some of the things that you're doing, how people can connect with you, kind of give presence to the work you're doing in the world.
Of course, absolutely. So us coming together as a community is so important, more important than I think we even understand, because we come together and our energy connects. So for me, my website is lifewithserenity.com. I put all my events on there, and all my events are created with so much love and purpose. And I love to put in different modalities. So I have one coming up where we're going to use color therapy and then sound. So we're going to paint, and the paint's going to be connected to all the different colors of the chakras, and we're going to listen to the music that connects us with the different parts of our mind, body, and soul. And then sound gets dropped in. So I'm always collaborating with other human beings that are on this same journey, but they have discovered other really powerful things, right? Because we're not one size fits all. So to bring in all these different modalities and different energies for a group of people, it just offers so much more for everybody. And those are the type of events that I do. They're always very creative. They're always a very safe space. No experience necessary. You come in no matter what, no matter where you've been, who you are, and just show up. Just show up is the hardest part, because once you get through the door, you're gonna be so happy that you're there. And so that's my journey. I'm constantly doing these things everywhere. I also do like 3-day retreats. So some are 1 day, and then all the way up to retreats. It all be found on my website, and everyone's welcome to contact me. I'm here for everybody.
Yeah. Awesome. If you were able to give someone the most important thing you want them to know, they've watched your episode, they've enjoyed everything you say, what's the most important thing you want people to know from our conversations?
The most important thing, I believe, to remember in life through our conversation is that change is constant. So you're never stuck in one spot. You're never stuck with what's happening in your life right now or the energy that's going on. Change is constant, and it's a beautiful thing.
Serenity, thank you for sharing your space, sharing your conversation. I've enjoyed getting to learn who you are, and if you haven't seen her on Instagram, please be a part of the community. Thank you for all you do. And to you, my friend, I say, namaste.
Namaste, David.
Thanks for joining us here on Exploring the Human Journey. For more information, go to the website at exploringthehumanjourney.com.